The Staircase by Susan Farrell. Benjamin peered through a narrow gap in the thick undergrowth. The brambles and small shrubs had become intertwined with one another, creating an almost impenetrable wall of thorns and branches, which effectively guarded an old brick staircase. Benjamin had heard about the hidden garden on the property in Hazy View where he lived with his parents. It had become part of the family's legends, and he vaguely remembered his parents discussing his grandfather, who had lived there before he died. Typically, his 10-year-old interest had become aroused, and he took out his army Swiss knife, which his uncle Domingo had given him for Christmas, and he began to saw away at a gnarly branch, and with a sharp crack the branch gave way, and along with it brambles too fell to the ground, and he had an opening large enough to push through. His heart was beating wildly, and he almost turned tail and ran, but his curiosity got the better of him, and he moved to the bottom of the staircase, carefully putting his tacky-shod foot onto the front step. He felt uncomfortable at this invasion of what had obviously been a secret garden. He felt as though he was an interloper, an uninvited intruder. One foot followed the other. Dead leaves crackled underfoot, and tiny puffs of dust billowed out from beneath the soles of his shoes. He remembered his mother reading the story of Sleeping Beauty to his sister, and he had an eerie feeling that at any moment he would stumble upon a flaxen-haired beauty encased in glass, just waiting for his kiss. "Ugh," he said out loud, "that would be a fate worse than death." As he reached the top stair, he stopped in amazement. No castle lay concealed within the camouflaged parkland, but a boat did. His mouth hung open in sheer disbelief. Miles from anything which remotely resembled a body of water, a sailboat was standing upright on overgrown wooden blocks, looking for all the world as though Long John Silver would pop out of the cabin, summon his crew, and make sail for the approaching storm clouds. Oh boy, his friends at school would never believe this. A bird had made a nest upon the masthead, and he stared at the boy with his head cocked to one side as if to say, "And who might you be, laddie?" Benjamin moved a little closer to the vessel. Tatty sails were furled around the mast, lashed down with rope. He could see the peeling door to a cabin rimmed with circular windows, and as the sun glinted off the grimy panes, he thought he saw a figure reflected in them. He turned hurriedly around to leave, scared silly by his own imaginings, when a voice hailed him. "Hey, boy, don't go." Benjamin stopped, frozen in his tracks. Long John Silver was about to press gang him into a trip to Davy Jones's locker. "You're Benjamin, aren't you?" the voice inquired. "I'm your Uncle Sheldon, the writer. Come aboard. I will pour us a glass of lemonade." Benjamin reluctantly approached the craft. He climbed the rough wooden ladder up to the deck and swung his leg over the gunwale. A tan, sinewy arm appeared to pull him up. "Uncle Sheldon at your service, Squire." The gappy white smile, which split his tanned and friendly face, put Benjamin at ease immediately. "Surprised, lad?" "Yes," stammered a still-shaken Benjamin. "I had heard that this place was haunted." Sheldon threw back his head and laughed so loud that the bird perched on the masthead took off in a flurry of feathers. "No, although I must admit I have spread a rumor or two around the village to protect my privacy. I am writing a novel, and I need my peace and quiet. It's nice to have you aboard, though, Benjamin. Your mother is my older sister." The penny dropped. Benjamin remembered an old photograph which sat atop the mantelpiece at home, depicting a tower-headed, freckled-faced boy of about his own age, and a beribboned little girl clutching a teddy bear. "Oh, I'd heard about you. Aren't you some kind of explorer?" "Yes. I have just returned from Timbuktu, and I'm writing a book on their culture. Speaking of which, I had better get on with it." "Nice meeting you, Benjamin. Come again next Wednesday afternoon. Oh, and do bring some of your mother's ginger snaps with you, will you?" Benjamin happily made his way back down the overgrown staircase. Wasn't life a blast? His friends would be green with envy. His very own pirate was sailing upon the lawns of adventure right next door, and he had been invited to sail along on the very next journey.